So today we will discuss about the structure of bone, but before proceeding to that, we'll be discussing that what is basically skeletal system. What is skeletal system? Right. So skeletal system is basically a hardened structure or a hardened group of structure or a group of structure group of structure that is either dead or live, external or internal, and which is used to basically protect and give shape and maintain the shape of our body, right? Basically the hardened structure or a group of structure. It can be dead or it can be live, it can be external or it can be internal, and it is used to basically protect and give the shape of our body. If we talk about the cockroach, right, consider here we are having cockroach. This is cockroach, right? So it basically contains it contains a layer above it. So this layer is basically made up of chitin, and it is external. It is external and it is made up of chitin, but it is dead, right? But if we talk about ourselves, like if we talk about humans, so basically our humans, the skeletal system is live and internal. It is live and internal. And what is skeletal system basically made up of? A skeleton is basically made up of cartilages and bones, right? Now let's discuss about the structure of bone. Okay, this is how you have seen the bone in many dramas. Basically this is the structure of bone which you have seen. Now, okay, this bone is basically this contains a cavity inside it. Okay, basically there are three parts of the bone, right? Let me write it. Okay, basically this one region is known as epiphysis. This one region is known as epiphysis. This region is known as this one region is basically known as diaphysis. And the region over here, this one region basically this one region here as well. This region is known as basically, this is known as metaphysis. This is known as metaphysis. Alright. So here basically are here it is bone tissue. Here we have bone tissue. Bone tissue, and it contains basically cells. This contains the cells, and these basically cells are known as osteocytes. These are basically cells known as osteocytes. Now basically the covering of the bone is made up of connective tissue, and that covering is known as basically periosteum. Basically that is known as the covering of the bone, of the external basically covering of the bone is known as periosteum. And here I said that this is the cavity. This is known as medullary cavity, and the covering of this medullary cavity is known as, and it is basically also made up of connective tissue, is known as endosteum. And this medullary cavity basically contains basically yellow bone marrow. This contains yellow bone marrow. This contains yellow bone marrow, and basically this yellow bone marrow is what? It is basically adipose tissue. These are basically adipose tissue, right? And this medullary cavity is also known as a compact bone. This is known as compact bone as well. Okay, in this epiphysis, basically here it is, this is basically a sponge. This is quite porous bone, right? This is quite porous bone. This is porous bone. How could I draw this? This is a porous bone basically, and it contains red bone marrow. This contains red bone marrow. Let me make this clear. I hope this is clear like this. Right, this is basically the porous bone, and it contains, this is basically porous bone, and it contains the red bone marrow, which is responsible to produce the RBCs. Right, so I hope this is clear to you, and if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment section. Let me repeat this for you a while. This is basically medullary cavity. This one is the medullary cavity, right? And it contains the yellow bone marrow, which is basically the adipose tissue. This is basically the porous bone, and this have red bone marrow, which is responsible to produce red blood cells, platelets, and white blood cells. The covering of the bone is known as periosteum. The covering of this medullary cavity is known as endosteum, and this is made up of connective tissue. Moreover, this region is known as epiphysis, where the porous bone is located. The portion of this medullary cavity is also known as compact bone. Here we have this bone tissue which contains many cells. That's why our bone is known as live. Our skeleton is known as live because these contain cells. Moreover, in this bone tissue, we have calcium phosphate as well. The region between the diaphysis and the metaphysis is known as the region between diaphysis and epiphysis is known as metaphysis, right? So I hope this structure of bone is clear to you. If you have any kind of queries, you can ask me in the comment section. I'll be really glad to answer you guys.